Hello everyone and welcome to Moonride, where we're channeling Man of the Moon. So today I'm going to just give you a little tips on protection. One thing that's really important is if you do this channeling work, this spiritual work, it is sometimes a little bit dangerous. When I say that, you can start channeling, disembodied ghosts that just aren't necessarily the best people. They'll give you information and it'll be really helpful, and you could be a psychic that gets paid, but eventually it will be a negative. It'll be sort of attached to you, and all the work that you're doing will just become sort of ego based. And then you'll start, maybe doing some stuff wrong, and then you'll start fighting others who are trying to stop you and stuff like that. You just go off into a sort of direction, and you're channeling sort of disembodied ghosts. You don't want to do that. You want to channel your source. You want to channel your higher self. You want to channel, true love. And all of us are capable of doing it. It's not a question of limitation. Now, some people just naturally go out and they just naturally are protected and they just naturally channel. You'll notice that in our society, and this is true in cities and in the countryside, but it's not true in Aboriginal cultures. Aboriginal cultures are able to rope in people who are maybe getting a little detached because everybody's concerned for the other person. This is why I believe you see schizophrenia, is that people are just channeling the wrong stuff and they get obsessed and they go this direction. And I say that because I've seen it happen. So it is very important when you do this work for protection. And I'm going to show you one of the many methods that you can do for protection. Maybe I'll even show you two. Let's start out with pyramid. So let's say that you're going to go and you're going to start talking to some spirits out there, or you want to find your higher self, or you want to find your source and chat with it. Imagine, if you close your eyes right now, don't do this if you're driving, okay? Imagine a pyramid, and imagine that the pyramid lowers down onto you. And you can even see the angles of the pyramid in sort of golden light. And when you walk into the spirit world, then there's this golden light that sort of surrounds you, and the golden light will protect you. And again, that's a golden light of spirit. And if you have protected beings, you can even put them at the corners, right? So you could have, four ancestors, and then, some other, spirit at the top, like, somebody you're familiar with, somebody that you love, somebody that you know, if you don't know them physically, personally, it could be Christ or Buddha or something like this, right? So that's one way. Another way that you might have known about before, I did another video on this, is a family member. So when you're doing that, someone who has passed over. So for example, I did one, and it was my Aunt Lissa. She often shows up to me. I was very close to this particular aunt. I think she was really psychic and nobody knew it. I'm also very fond of my mom's mom. My father's grandfather. So it's one of those things where you want to go do some psychic work. Okay, just imagine the person. Imagine that I'm just going to pick my grandmother this time, and I'm just going to ask her love to be here. As I bring her here, it's funny because she was such a big reader, and I often see her in a library. This is not uncommon. Let's see. Here she is. And then, she's bringing me the pyramid herself. Bring in the ancestor. And when I say that, you could remember joyous moments with them, remember the nice things they did or said, remember the presence of them, remember, just watching them and really, embracing them and stuff like that. And literally, I want you to bring their love to you, right? And imagine that person. I'm going to imagine my grandmother standing behind me. I can feel her right now. And as you do it, you could just have her put your arm around you, right? So she's putting her arm around me. I can see her hand. It's funny because it's like it gets so detailed. I can even see the rings. It's like, I don't remember that ring. It must have gone to another direction in the family because I never saw my mom wear that. So it can be very specific. Also, my grandmother was a very well-dressed woman, so I think that's just telling me she's truly here, right? Just spend a moment enjoying the love that they give to you, right? Now, some people, unfortunately, have kind of a lousy family, right? And when I do this, I always want to do somebody who's passed to the other side, so not necessarily somebody who's alive, because I think that where they are, they can just help protect you better. If you don't have anybody, if nobody comes up, there's no family member who shows up for you, and again, family member doesn't have to be perfect, just somebody who loved you. I mean, we all have faults, right? So, but if that's, close your eyes and nobody really shows up, don't be too disappointed and too hard on yourself. There are other ways to protect. And you can ask, for example, for a childhood friend, maybe who passed over. Maybe it's somebody you haven't seen in 50 years. If you close your eyes, somebody should show up. Again, first and foremost, somebody you knew in this world. Because they're not friendship is something that's just pure. Love from a family member is something that's pretty pure. They're not some funky disembodied ghost that's got an agenda and they're angry, right? So you might just like who pops into your head, right? Even if you haven't spoken to them in many, many years. Maybe they are on the other side and you don't know it, and that's why they show up. Sometimes that's happened to me. So you can bring in that person. If there's a religious leader that you know personally, so I would not necessarily choose, first of all, to choose like Buddha or Christ or something, only because I don't necessarily know if that's one of these dark forces showing up in disguise, right? There's a process by which you figure that out, which I don't really have time to go into today. But if it's a spiritual leader that if you're personal friends with the Dalai Lama, great. But it should be some kind of personal connection that you have. So I'm going to see, like, gosh, do I have any spiritual leaders that have passed over? I don't really know. I don't really necessarily have spiritual leaders that I've followed personally. Like, there are a few, but I wasn't that friendly with them. I knew them, but I wasn't super friendly with them. So that's off the table for me. Maybe it's on the table for you. If this doesn't work, if you don't have a friend or family member who's passed over, if you don't have a spiritual leader, the spiritual leader could be alive, right? Because they're just a little bit more in tuned, right? If none of these things show up, you can just picture an ancestor, right? And the ancestors out there, somebody shows up. It's kind of cool. Maybe they didn't know they were. And you can ask them, like, hey, which family branch are you on? And you can just kind of sit with them and they'll kind of give you a story. So they might show up as a person breaking chains. And that was the ancestor who fought against a power. They might show up as a, herbalist. They might show up and tell you a little vignette story about the meaning of their lives and what they did, right? It could be any gender, any age, that just does not matter. Now, you might be wondering, hey, wait a minute, Dave. You said sometimes these guys show up in costume, they're going to distract me. They're going to show up as a fake costume. And this really does happen. You should be aware of it. So this is what you got to do, all right? So I'm just going to ask, okay, Spirit, show me an ancestor who's going to be helpful today, who I don't know about. Okay, let's see what I'm seeing. Person all in white. They have curly hair. They're from a really, like, branch of the family. Like mom, but like dad, but all the way back. She's showing me this. Tell me your story. Okay. She kind of has like a little wand, which is pretty unusual. Usually they're just ordinary people who have a lot of spiritual stuff on the inside. But she's like literally carrying a magic wand. Who on earth are you? I guess you're not on earth. Who are you? Can you tell me more about where you lived? Huh. Okay. I'm seeing a place. Looks like it could be Britain. She's coming out of a house. Huh. So this was a pretty cool image. She's coming out of the house. and she's walking past a church. So she's like, no, 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 I have my own church. And she goes to get water. She sees a buffalo. Ah, okay. So this is her religion. It's not the church. Her religion is the water and the buffalo, just being in relationship to that. Now, here you might be wondering, hey, wait a minute, Dave, I still don't know. How do I know this is not a ghost? This is how you know it's not a ghost. I'm going to ask her, can you tell me, first of all, can you tell me your name? Esmeralda, okay. And Esmeralda, show me something that proves you're from the light. Okay. Now here's a problem. I see a chalice, but it's just a tiny bit cliche. So I'm like, well, look, am I, being fooled? I want you to show me something more personal. Aha. Okay, you know what when I was a child, I loved playing with Legos. And not only am I seeing those Legos, I'm seeing me just having hours and hours of fun constructing these worlds with the Legos. And I just remember that wonderful feeling of just these intensity of doing that. I could do it. I could have done it for a week. I just was so focused on those things and creating and recreating worlds. So here's the key portion, you guys. It makes me feel good, right? The filter of your heart will let you know this is an accurate spirit. So if I asked Esmeralda, show me something that proves you're from the light, and Esmeralda's shows me nothing, she's not the right one. You just dismiss her and start again, right? Give her a minute, because they might have they've got their own processes to do. But if there's nothing, if you try a couple of times and there's just enough blank space, move on. This is not the right person. If, on the other hand, you're there and they show you something you don't like, you see it and you're like, ew, I don't want to see that gravestone. It's making me unhappy. I don't like it. Trust your heart. Spirit knows your heart, and it should send you something beautiful, something lovely, right? Dark forces can't fake that. Dark forces don't know where love is. They don't know what happiness looks like. You notice Donald Trump never makes a joke that isn't an attack. He's never laughing with somebody together. They're always laughing at someone, right? It's not true humor. It's true cruelty. Whereas when you're laughing with somebody truly, you're not harming anyone. Both of you feel great. You're not laughing at the expense of another. Dark forces can't do that. They cannot make you laugh for the sake of laughter. They can't make you laugh for the sake of, just because. Dark forces don't know what laughter is. They don't know true laughter. Spirit does. And if you're laughing, you're close to spirit. Always. Right? Spirit will have the funniest sense of humor. You will burst into laughter sometimes when you find things out. So that's how I know. Okay. Esmeralda is though going, hey, wait a minute. There's this chalice here, Dave. And that's a story, So maybe the chalice has more meaning than I thought. She's like, that's a story that you got a long, long time ago, the story of this chalice and carrying the water, right? Just like I carried the water, bingo, right? So hopefully you guys will learn just from my example here. And go ahead and do your own protection. You can do this in any kind of situation. If you're walking into a difficult situation in your life, you can bring the pyramid or the ancestor or a friend or whatever it is. It could be walking into a job interview that you want to feel comfortable and protected. Maybe you're going to get ripped to shreds by your boss. Just bring that in and you'll just be amazed at how much calmer you are and how much more in control you seem to the person who you are talking to. If you're ever in a dangerous situation, you're ever like, uh-oh, I don't want to walk down that dark alley, ask them to protect you. They'll probably send a message telling you what to do. Go knock on the door and ask for a taxi. Or they will literally send someone to help. And it'll be somebody will just show up and go, I'm sorry, are you lost? Can I take you someplace? I tell you, it works. It's worked for me many times, and it has worked in some very dangerous situations. All right? Thanks so much for watching.